Weird. It was always noisy in the warehouse area.
I spent quite a few videos covering indie horror games that are already out there in the wild, but today I thought it might be cool to shine a light on some upcoming projects, specifically ones with a demo I was able to play. Basically, this video was an excuse to play more games, more than I already do. I've got to hand it to indie devs who take the time to make a demo. It's additional work, often with its own considerations like separate builds to manage, unique bugs to squash, and deciding on a vertical slice that will leave a good impression on potential buyers rather than scare them off. Plainly put, it could be a pain in the ass. I don't blame devs wanting to put that effort into the game itself instead, especially indie devs who have to carefully manage their time. So, I always appreciate it when developers go out of their way to make one. I know there's been a long-standing conception that demos actually hurt sales, but I think it's a great way to set the right expectation with your customer and avoid a regretted sale down the road. You know, one of those dreaded not for me reviews. That, and there's no better way to sell someone in your game's concept than to just let them play it. I can't count how many times where a demo was what pushed me over the fence and secured my purchase. Okay, preambles out of the way. Here's 4 upcoming games that you can try today. I'll include a link to each demo in the description for your convenience, and if you like what you see or play, go add them to your wish list. Fans of a certain foggy little town will want to keep a lookout for this throwback. Developed by Spectra Team, Fragile Reflection blends the aesthetic of retro survival horror games with more modern sensibilities. As Cairo, you find your village home caught in a waking nightmare, forcing you to fend off bizarre creatures as you try to figure out why the neighborhood's literally gone to hell. It's basically what you'd get if Silent Hill took place in Japan. No, I mean, yes, we're not talking about that right now. The game's charming lo-fi visuals and scratchy VHS filter give it an analog texture that indie horror heads will adore. But it's the music that really sells the atmosphere, featuring moody and melodic walls of sound that would make Akira Yamaoka beam with pride. Exploring the village is disquieting and oddly cozy. It harkens back to the chilling emptiness of the towns you'd find in classic Silent Hill and Fatal Frame games, which shouldn't rank high in terms of coziness, but admittedly I have a lot of nostalgia for haunted towns and rusty cranks. Classic survival horror fans will feel right at home as you navigate fog-laden environments, solve progress-blocking puzzles, search for keys, manage supplies, and have weird Lynchian conversations with the locals.
I don't know. I like hide and seek.
Despite its old-school looks, Fragile Reflection has some new-school tricks. Unlike its fixed perspective forefathers, the game has a modern third-person viewpoint so you can fully control the camera and freely take aim at enemies. There's a dedicated button for your melee weapon, while aiming always brings up your firearm, so you don't have to menu dive in the middle of a fight. There's also a streamlined inventory menu with contextual buttons for using or examining items, a small but appreciated touch. And no modern horror game is complete without the coveted bolt cutters. While it's refreshing to see streamlined mechanics baked into a genre known for its clunk, there's a fair amount of de-janking needed before this village opens for business. Hit detection is wonky, attack animations are wonkier, and sometimes stairs just don't want to be stairs. I know what you're thinking. It's almost like the game is unfinished. Still, the vibe radiating off of this thing could melt a PlayStation 1 jewel case. With some refining, I think Fragile Reflection could end up a lo-fi gem. No date on this one yet. Get used to hearing that phrase. Action horror fans will absolutely want to check out Lumina Veil. It's a solo effort by Hamster Cafe, good name, who's been working on this project during their off hours. Could you imagine? I'm already a beer deep and doom scrolling in my underwear by 5 p.m. What the fuck? The demo lets you play the game's first 2 chapters with a third coming out this summer, and the full release will apparently be free, which is crazy considering how solid it is so far. The story has a cool little meta thing going on where you play as a popular streamer playing an unreleased horror game for the first time. In the game, you control this stylish lady as she slinks around creepy industrial environments, hunting for keys, avoiding flesh decor, and battling these jorts-loving zombies. Lumina Veil is more action horror than survival horror, calling to mind the combat suite from Silent Hill 2 Remake. The melee system lets you block, string together short combos, and attack with a light or heavy swing, the latter of which puts you at risk, but pays off in big damage. You can also quick swap over to your range weapon mid-combat, letting you soften up enemies using this little spear gun before getting up close and personal for the finish. You can even collect a couple of bolts from zombies you down to top off your ammo. There's a dedicated dodge button when things get hairy, or if you want, you can stealth around the environment and score sneak attacks. A lot of effort went into this combat system and it shows. Combat in horror is a tricky balance. If you depower the player too much, you can end up with more frustration than fear. Swing too hard in the opposite direction, though, and you have yourself an unscary action game playing dress-up as a horror game. I love you, RE6, but I know what you are. So far, Lumina Vale's combat is fun and snappy, but enemies can still slap the fine out of your status if you're not careful. There's even a bit of enemy variety, including Mr. Disappearing Act here and Mr. Spits on It. The first 2 chapters of the game make use of the streamer framing device by overlaying your character's chat over the game. There's some funny color commentary from the peanut gallery, and holy shit, 600 viewers? I get 5 on a good day, and they hate me. And it's especially cool when the game's world starts bleeding into your real one. I mean your fake real one. You get what I'm saying. However, puzzle heads will be sad to learn there's not much in the way of head scratchers. I only encountered a single puzzle in the demo, which works for me since I'm one of them dumb kids. I'm super excited to see how the full game shakes out. It's already well polished, engaging, and somehow free. Let me pay you, Richard Lumina Vale dev. Scarlet Lake is isometric Resident Evil. And done. What? You need more? Okay. You play as Ben Murphy, a guy who receives a message from his missing wife, beckoning him to a small island town who somehow doesn't smell the obvious survival horror setup. Nevertheless, Ben goes to Scarlet Lake and finds that shit is indeed all fucked up. The town is overrun with Michael Rookers from the hit film Slither, and government stooges seem to be in the middle of a very poor cover-up. As Ben, it's up to you, your laser sight, and conveniently placed boxes of ammo to unravel this sordid mystery. I don't know about you, but I love it when horror games play with the isometric view, and I especially love the pixelated art here. If you played Signalis, you'll get what Scarlet Lake's going for. If you haven't played Signalis, this is your notice to play Signalis. You'll navigate the besieged town, solving puzzles, managing a limited inventory, and yes, using key items like a crank to progress. All from a bird's eye view. It's classic survival horror through and through, but with a touch more action. The developer notes RE4, Dead Space, and Alan Wake as influences on its gunplay. Hell, they sum up the game better than me. Quote, ultimately, it is a twin-stick shooter with slight tank controls and a horror atmosphere. End quote. And done. The demo teases the ability to gather scrap and wayward cash, with the full release giving you access to a merchant for upgrades. An appreciable nod to Leon's vacation in Spain if there ever was one. No release date yet, but if your income is of the disposable variety, you can back the game on Kickstarter. I'll leave a link in the description. Without a doubt, this is my most anticipated indie game of the year. HEARTWORM, developed by Vincent Adonolfi and published through Dread XP, is a true blue retro survival horror game that not only pays respect to the genre's greats of the 90s, it feels like it could have been released right alongside them. The quality is that high. The art design, the music, the stylish inventory menu, the perspective-switching combat, the cinematic cutscenes, the rain-soaked environments. Every inch of this throwback is a huge artistic flex. Even the fucking doors are gorgeous. It's a pitch-perfect replica of the 32-bit era. And the camera angles, they're so good, they give Capcom and Konami a run for their money. If it were 1999. The story follows Sam, a young woman with great tattoos, attempting to cope with her grandfather's death. Unfortunately, Sam makes a critical error and decides to trust the internet. Following a hot forum tip, she finds herself at a mysterious house where it's said one can contact the other side. Naturally, or supernaturally, she ends up on a psychologically charged survival horror adventure through a bizarrely beautiful and dangerous world that will test her at every corner. The developer says the game will focus primarily on exploration and puzzle solving, but you will encounter scary TV static men who Sam can dispatch with her trusty camera. Because of course. You can even control how authentic of an old school experience you have with optional tank controls, aiming settings, and screen filters. HEARTWORM will take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours to complete, but it'll have multiple endings encouraging replays. The game is set to release spring 2025, but seeing as how we're running out of spring, we'll just call it sometime in 2025. Mark my words, this will absolutely be an indie horror darling. Alright, let me know in the comments which horror projects you're looking forward to, and feel free to shout out any cool demos you found. Once again, be sure to wishlist any games you think look chilling and cool. It goes a long way. All right, nighty-night, and don't let the video games bite.